Hello everybody and welcome to another week of Without Having Kicked a Ball. It's that time again where we delve into a football frenzy and dissect the top four divisions. With me tonight is a full complement for the first time in God knows how long. But I will introduce you first to Will. Hello Will.
Hello, Ben. Thank you very much, mate. And yep, can't wait to get into the show.
Yeah, I agree. Next up on the list, we have Jordan. Hello, Jordan.
Hi mate, how's it going? Yep, same for me. Not been on the show for a couple of weeks now. Yeah, looking forward to getting into it. Lots to discuss as usual.
Yeah, thank you. And then last but not least is Mr. Sam Taylor. Hello, Sam. How are you?
Hello, my friend. Great to be doing this with you again. It's been a long time, so it feels great to be with everyone. And yeah, looking forward to the show and seeing what comes up.
Yeah, as the boys have said, it's been a long time where we've all been together. But without further ado, let's get into it. So we're going to start this week down at the Etihad. It was a crunch game between Manchester City and Liverpool. Liverpool won the game by 2-0, and that all but claims their title, in my opinion. So first off, Sam, give me your thoughts.
Well, it was a clash between the champions and the challengers of the last few years in the main to City, but it's role reversed this time as City are struggling to hold on to a top four position and at the minute it looks like Liverpool are going to win the league at a counter to canter. It's not over yet, but it's heading that way. Yeah, and as for the game itself, I mean, I thought City looked sharp in the attacking third, but defensively they struggled again. And I think for Liverpool, they're just strong everywhere at the minute. And fair play to Arne Slot, who's come in and replace somebody like Jurgen Klopp, who was an icon at Liverpool. And he's just taken over seamlessly. I think it helps when you've got the players. And Klopp did. I've said this on the show before. If Klopp hadn't signed Gravenberch, McAllister, Endo, those types of players in his beginning of his last season,
he laid the foundations, really.
I think if you'd have just had Salah, Van Dijk, with Henderson, Milner, I think they would have struggled, because I think a bit like with United when Fergie left, although there's quality there that they needed reinforcements that we're still looking for, but 12 years later. But for Liverpool, they refreshed the squad, and obviously Salah's a bit of a freak of nature, the way he keeps going. And I just think, but I think all credit to Slot. He's a lot calmer than Klopp. Not that that's a good or a bad thing, but I think he managed expectations very well. I think he's sort of, yes, he has inherited a great squad, but the team seems to play in his image. There's still the high press that they had with Klopp and stuff, but they control the ball better. And it's not as blood and thunder as it was under Jurgen. And I think there's a big thing, and I really do believe this. The team is an image of the manager on the pitch, and I think most most teams, not all, but most teams reflect managers, what the way managers are and their personalities, and I think Liverpool reflect that in Slot. With his calm nature, they're calm on the ball, they're good at keeping the ball, but they can also sit in and
dig in
defend.
as well. Yeah.
And they had what City dominated possession, but it's what you do with it. And Liverpool, we know this. We all know this. The momentum is key, and Liverpool have just built up momentum.
Yes.
And have just kept on going. And it's hard as a United fan because in the last 5 seasons, soon to be 6 seasons, it's just been Liverpool and City every year, which is hard to swallow. It is hard to swallow, but it is what it is. And yeah, fair play to Slot. As for Guardiola, and I'll say quickly before that, and City before the other lads come in, is that City are in a rebuilding phase. Yes, they brought in January, but it's always hard for players to adapt in January, and they probably need a pre-season. It's not as everybody goes, they've fallen off a cliff. Well, they haven't fallen off a cliff. They're doing far worse, yes, but the squad's just got all together. They've not been able to replace the players in the summer, so they've done it in the winter, and probably need to add a few more, which is not ideal. But yeah, they'll be back. Guardiola's far too good to let that go, and it's good to see that Guardiola looks a bit better now, because before Christmas I was a bit worried about his welfare. Some of the things he was coming out with, which is nothing to do with football, just his welfare as a person, because he was saying he couldn't eat properly, and said a few things about self-harm, which is not a good sign at all, and we know that is a big thing in society, and for all that these managers and players get paid, there is a pressure there to perform.
They're human at the end of the day,
and to perform week in, week out. So yeah, that's my view. It kind of reflected where the two teams are, and I think big thing for City is the likes of De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan as well. They're all getting older together, and the likes of Grealish hasn't quite done it in a City shirt, and the same with Doku. He's a great player, I think, but he hasn't quite delivered what.
See, I think Doku has done better than Grealish has at City, personally, out of the two.
I think Doku is really, really good.
I agree. I think Doku is absolutely brilliant, but I think his consistency is not there.
But then
he reminds me a bit of Adama Traore, and I say that because his end product needs work. But
anyway, that's my view on that.
I'll just pick up on what you said, Sam, before I ask the other lads. And I think I agree with everything you say there. You make some really good points. What I'll just add to that is, I think for Liverpool it was a classic case of a classic away performance. As you say, they went through phases of the game, and they passed every phase with flying colours, and there was a confident swagger about them, almost like an unbeatable swagger, and everything they touch turns to gold at the moment. So what were your thoughts, Will?
Well, it was a calm, polished performance. They didn't run away with it, but yeah, it was a cool, calm, collected, and as I said, polished performance. And one thing that struck me out of the two teams in terms of players on the bench is I think Liverpool's bench was more stronger. I don't know about what you lads would say, but I think Liverpool had the better options to potentially come off the bench if they were struggling, which they didn't. And Mo Salah doing what Mo Salah does best. Another goal for him and then another assist for him. So
it's
more of the same, really.
it's a Messi and Ronaldo-esque type of season for Salah. And lastly, George, anything more to say that's not already been said?
I think that the main thing that I want to pick up on is what Sam said about that squad growing old together. Is like a lot of those guys came in at their peak. We're talking 26, 27s.
Yeah.
Guys like somebody like Ruben Diaz is that sort of age now, for instance. So it's that thing of that they have grown old together, but it also means that like the drop off from some of these players has been pretty unreal.
Yeah.
And I also think that the January signings, apart from Marmoush, who I think is fantastic.
Oh yeah, he looks like
said,
he's going to be a great talent, doesn't he?
The January signings haven't necessarily worked yet. I was very, very surprised to see Kusanov in with Ake instead of Ruben Dish, but obviously there's a lot going on with that squad, and it's the first real rebuild that he's had to do, because a lot of that squad has been there for a very, very long time. Even
Pellegrini,
so much so that there's people in that squad that have left and come back, i.e. Gundogan.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Which
was a mistake bringing him back.
There's a lot to do in the summer, and if you believe the tabloids, which you shouldn't, but if you believe the tabloids, it's quite a lot of these lads are going to be free to leave in the summer as well. I think some of them.
Sorry to interrupt you, but De Bruyne got a standing ovation. He did.
He won't be going anywhere. He's class.
He is class and he is showing it, but just he's showing it on a consistent level. And who am I to question him? But on Sunday, for me, it felt like the beginning of the end for De Bruyne.
I feel like it's the end, yeah. I do feel like it's the end at that level.
You've got to sort of take the sentimentality out of it, sometimes, players, you've got to let them go. And I feel that's the case with De Bruyne.
We've been having this debate. Me and Sam personally have had this debate with you on at least 2 or 3 shows about De Bruyne. You've said a lot of things about De Bruyne in terms of they need to let him go.
He's a great player,
but like he, for me, and somebody else can, there's people like Modric who are also fantastic, but he has been the best midfielder in the world, bar Rodri. Yeah. But before Rodri, he's been the best midfielder in the world for 6, 7, 8, 9 years now.
I agree.
And one more thing is, it's no coincidence that the upturn in City's form coincides with De Bruyne coming back, because even when he came back and they were still losing games, they were creating a lot more, because that is an absolute complete world-class midfielder. Do you know what I mean?
I agree, Jordan. We did have this conversation with Will, and I think my angle was that, it was earlier in the season, and also Will seems to think that players are finished over 30 generally. So I do
Well,
I do get,
not
but
all
but
players, but I'm
you
not
know,
saying De Bruyne is a bad player because, of course, he was a wonderful player, but the injuries and the age, it's
yeah,
starting
you're
to
right.
show now.
Well, you are right in what you say. I think it is starting to show, and I've been demand of the Premier League might be starting to show.
Yeah,
One thing I want to say about what George said, you know, he could come back and prove us all wrong. I've seen great sportsmen like Roger Federer for example, being counted out numerous times, and he came back
even
and won a
Andy
grand.
Murray, we all thought he was gonna retire, and then
Yeah. So it can. Although Andy was never at the same level, but as he was before. But anyway, one thing I would pick up on what Jordan said, and maybe Ben wants to come in on this as well, is you said has been, and I think maybe that's the same as some of the other Man City players. For as brilliant as they are, and they might prove us all wrong, it's in the past, and I just feel that maybe it is time for De Bruyne to move.
Shall I tell you why I say has been? Because I do think that over the past couple of years, i.e. Bellingham and Rodri, there is better midfielders than De Bruyne. I think for a good 3 or 4 years, and we're only talking 3 or 4 years ago, he was on his own completely. And then Rodri and Bellingham and Modric has always been class, but I think even Modric stepped up his game
Yeah, but
as well.
they apart from Modric, they're younger than him.
yes,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is true. Yeah,
but it's like you said again, it's the longevity with De Bruyne as well, which I
I
think
agree. And
it
Salah.
is
He
unreal.
can
I
play the
want to
same
say as
stuff.
well, just because I haven't mentioned anything at all on Liverpool,
sorry,
the
apologies.
the job that's been done there is fantastic, because that's what I believe a managerial change at the top level should look like.
Yes,
Yeah,
I.e.,
it's been seamless, hasn't it?
yeah, and I think part of that is because Klopp suggested Slot. I mean, Fergie suggested Moyes, so what do I know? But it's about adapting. It's about so many managers come in and they rip everything up, and it doesn't work.
yeah,
But then some managers try to do, and this is on Arnie Slot. Some managers try and do um what the previous manager has done to ease the transition, i.e., as Slot is doing, and get it wrong. The biggest one for me, an example of that, would be Russell Martin to Ivan Juric at Southampton, because Ivan Juric didn't really has slowly tweaked Southampton's style of play, and yet they're still pretty shocking.
yeah, they're still struggling.
I mean, as we're talking, it's Tuesday. I've just watched Chelsea beat Southampton 4-0, and they just offered absolutely nothing.
I do feel sorry for Saints fans at the moment. Going to watch them play, and they're often getting trounced by, 3-0 every week.
It just shows the step up in quality within the championship.
Yeah, and I also think that there were better teams in the Premier League, in the Championship, man for man, than Southampton.
Yeah, of course.
But we'll get to that, because I do want to talk about Southampton. In fact, to be honest, because it's been so long, I would like a little bit of time on each one, but obviously we're not going to get that. But yeah, in terms of Liverpool, and I think what you said, Sam, is is right. The recruitment the season before was spot on.
Yes.
Even like you mentioned, Endo, somebody in his mid-30s does a job, knows he's a squad player and accepts it. I still believe on, we're talking since De Bruyne has come back and things have started to look better. I still think City will get top 4. I still think they're within the top 4 best teams on paper, even though a lot of their players have lost a lot of credibility. I feel some of them, especially ones like, he's tried all sorts, and he's started Grealish in games and he's just done absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
You look at guys like somebody who I really like, but he definitely hasn't got to the level that people I think thought would. That's Savinho. I talked really well about him first couple of weeks in the season.
He's a very good player. He just needs. But again, he's a young player
He's still
coming in.
raw, isn't he, Savinho?
Yeah, but that's part of the problem with City's wingers. You've got 2 really young wingers in Doku and Savinho in sort of early 20s.
Yeah. Do you know who they could have benefited learning from? Obviously, he's not at the club anymore, but Riyad Mahrez would have done them wonders.
Or Sterling.
And Sterling is.
Yeah.
And so I
someone
think
who's been there and done it all. Yeah.
And this squad have, but I go back to it, boys. Just sorry to cut in there, Joe, but I go back to it about squads growing old together. My whatever level of football you play at, my dad, for instance, played football, and he played in the Mid Cheshire League, which is an amateur league, but he won the league, the Mid Cheshire League, about 5 years running. And then in the 6th year, they finished about 4th. And I said, why was that? And he said, we just got old together. We just were all aging pretty much. We had a couple of young lads like City have got, but we were just all going over the hill. And I think it's the kind of thing that doesn't just creep up on you, it just happens. The one thing I would like to say as well on Liverpool is how well Slot and the 3 players, they are professional players at the top of their game who no doubt love Liverpool, but how brilliant Alexander-Arnold, Van Dijk and Salah have been, because whatever happens with their contracts, how brilliant and how professional have they been this season?
How many of those? Sorry to interject. How many of those do you think will leave? I think Trent will go. I
think Trent is not a definite, but I'd say a 60-40.
Yeah, he's probably the most likely to go.
I agree. 60-40 is a good way of putting it, I think.
Whereas Salah and Van Dijk, I think, will be closer, but I think if one of them was to say it and 2 of them were to go, right now, I'd say Van Dijk would stay.
I agree.
I agree. I think the most likely to stay is Van Dijk, because I think that for some reason the only one that they seem that bothered about is Van Dijk.
Well, I suppose because they think if Van Dijk was to go, they'd collapse defensively.
I do know that conversations are ongoing with all 3 of them.
You've got to give Salah a new contract.
Since the old regime that has come back in,
Michael Edwards,
Edwards, etc. I know that they were very upset that none of that had been done, because there'd been no conversations with either of the 3 of them.
Which is crazy because along with Allison, and then we've got Georgias Billy, or the guy
Really.
Billy. That's it. Coming.
It's not just me that struggles with pronunciations.
But Allison, Van Dijk, Trent, and Salah have been the reason Liverpool went to that next level, and all four of them. And I know Alisson's still got a year left to go, but all four of them are the reason that Liverpool challenged and won things under Klopp. So, and they're all at a top level still. So I don't understand. Yeah, you could say we might have to let one go. I get that, but how they've allowed this situation to happen?
It's incompetence, it is.
Yeah, it is. To be fair, Will, it does seem like that because despite Salah with his age, give him a 3-year deal because he's as fit as a fiddle.
Yeah, look at him. I mean, he's just enjoying life and he's playing well.
Van Dijk looks like he could play till he's 100 and not sweat. He just it looks so easy.
Same as
for
the
him.
money they paid for him.
I think it's funny though, because I do think that I'm quite aware that we spent a long time talking about this, but part of the course when we've not been together for quite a few weeks. I think that Van Dijk isn't as good as he was though.
No, I
Still a
agree.
very solid, reassuring presence, isn't
I
he?
think that Trent is pretty good, but Arne Slot seems to pull him off quite a lot. The only one that I think Salah is doing ridiculous things.
Yes.
And there was the stat on Sky Sports about players with, was it 30 plus goals and assists?
Yeah, that was it.
And Salah currently has, is it 39, 37? Something like that. This is off the top of my head, so this might be terrible analysis. But,
I think it's near there. Yeah, I'm not sure it's quite there, but it's near.
This season, is it?
Yeah. So he's got like 39 goals and assists at this point in this season, and then there's some huge names on there. But the thing that was fascinating to me is is he 33?
Yeah. Must be.
Yeah.
And you look at some of the names on there, and you know, there are a couple of, like Didier Drogba was on there, and he was like 29 or whatever, but then a lot of them are guys absolutely in their peak at the moment, at that moment, like Van Persie in 11-12, best season that he ever had, was on there. Thierry Henry was on there twice, and it was 2 years where Arsenal didn't even win the league.
Yeah.
And in one of the years, he was higher up than Salah. The level and the age, and I'd do anything to keep him if I was them. I really would.
I agree, and I think the one thing you can say about Salah is he is a bit of a freak of nature in the way he is still going so strong, but he's been very lucky with injuries as well. He is never really injured.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I heard him injured.
And for me, the three of them, I'd sell Trent because I think you're gonna get. Not that you want to, but I'd sell him because he's 26, so you can still get your top money for not top money for him because he'll be played in the last 6 months. But for me, he'd be the one that Liverpool can afford to lose the most.
I agree.
I think as well with Trent, I think it I can't imagine he will get this moment again to go the one that keeps coming up is Real Madrid, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that, but his peak age, Van Dijk and Salah are all doing amazing things, and that's true. And Van Dijk's numbers are as good as they've ever been, but he's also 33. So, like, realistically, you are going to see some sort of downturn eventually.
Yes.
Whereas, like, Trent is at his peak. Now, you could say that's either a reason to keep him or a reason to let him go, but I just think that the best thing for his career would be for him to go. The other thing for Liverpool is they do have a replacement who could be just as good.
Conor Bradley.
Conor Bradley.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
He's arguably, of course, he's not a better player, but he's arguably better rounded.
We were Slot's first choice, wasn't he? Even when Alexander-Arnold was back fit for a while.
I think that's why Conor Bradley comes on a lot in games for Trent, because Conor Bradley can do both.
Yeah, like, for example, I know we're getting into this a lot, but we'll move on shortly. But when I was at the United game when we drew 2-2, Trent was getting absolutely murdered.
Yeah, he had a poor game.
And when Conor Bradley came on, the calmness was restored. I just think he plays with a maturity. And this is another thing about Slot, is that he as a manager makes every player feel important and feel empowered to play a part in the team, and not just any part, it's a crucial part.
I agree. The one thing I would say, just going back onto the debate of the famous three, is that if I was a betting man, and it's interesting you both went for Van Dijk staying, but if I was a betting man, two of them would stay. But if two of them go, I think, and one stays, I think it'll be Salah that stays, ironically. I've just got that feeling in my water.
No, I just say, I think two will. I think two will stay. I think Van Dijk and Salah will stay.
Yeah, I agree. I think
you're saying if we can only keep one, who's the most likely? I think it is Van Dijk.
Salah for me.
Because I also think that if you take Trent out of right back, you've got Bradley. If you take Salah out, you've got Diaz, you've got Hakpo, you've got Nunez.
But then nowhere near his level.
You've got Jota, you've got Elliott. I'm not saying they are, but I'm saying they've got options that are at level. If you take Van Dijk out, you've not got nowhere near the level. But I really like Kwanzaa. But he needs time. But then
I agree.
I think the place that they can't afford to lose is Van Dijk.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember. Why do you think they paid 100 million for Van Dijk for Southampton? Because before they got Van Dijk, they were struggling defensively.
75, wasn't it?
Was it 75? Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. It's alright, don't worry, but I agree with you, George. I think obviously Liverpool's attacking players aren't going to get to the numbers that Salah is producing, but collectively they may. And I don't think Van Dijk would be as easy to replace as you say, but we gave a good detailed debate there.
Yeah, certainly.
It was good to get into that.
Yep.
I know we digressed a bit, but I think it was worth it.
I think a lot of that can go, to be fair, Will.
Oh, right, okay.
I don't. I think it was pretty good, most of
It
it.
was great, but I mean, your likes is timekeeping, doesn't it? Anyway, on to the next one.
He's got us all together So he's gonna have to suck it up.
I'll probably keep it in.
Yeah, nice one. Just do what you decide to do with. Anyway, the next game we're going to focus on is the first game of Super Sunday, played out at St James's Park in Newcastle between Newcastle United and Nottingham Forest. It was a game of two halves, really. Obviously, Forest took the lead, doing what they do best.
Callum Hudson-Odoi, yeah.
Yeah, playing the counter attack, and then they just capitulated, and Newcastle took advantage. Second half the game, roaring back, and it was a nervy end for Newcastle, but
yeah, I thought it was going to be 4-4 in the end. It nearly was.
Yeah, well, it could have been, but they held on to win 4-3. So, having said that, I know you just spoke there, well, so I'll come to you first. What were your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I was, reading the live text of the game, and I saw, Newcastle were 4-1 up by, half time. Thought, oh well, yeah, that's game over, and then Forest managed to come back with a bit of dignity. So yeah, watching the highlights of it, it was really interesting. Really one of the most exciting games I think we've seen in a while. Could be game of the season, maybe. Extraordinary.
Yeah, I think it's definitely up there. Whether it's game of the season, I'm not so sure.
Well, we've still got quite a bit to go yet, but it could be potentially game of the season.
It's in contention.
Yes.
At least, and yeah, there was a bit of needle in both teams, which was good to see. Obviously, Elliot Anderson facing his former club, Chris Wood too, Matt Zells as well, which I'm not sure you're aware
Eddie Moore for Eddie Moore.
But he played for Newcastle, I think, about between 7 and 9 seasons.
In the Championship.
Yeah. What a keeper
in the Championship, I think.
What a keeper he's turned out to be, by the way. But yeah, you raised some good points there, Will.
It sounds like it became the New Forest then.
Hey! Very good, very good.
I feel like switching off after that. Because everybody else is laughing, I'll go with my thoughts next. I mean, obviously, it doesn't start out great for Newcastle, and they're one of those strange teams that are really kind of like, I seem to think we talked about Newcastle just before Christmas, the last one that we did, me and you, Sam, and I said about watching out for them because they can be quite streaky. And since then, I don't think they won a game for a while, did they? They didn't win a game for a few weeks.
They were in top form, weren't they, for a while?
Yeah, and then I think, obviously, over the last couple of weeks, it's steadied again. And I really felt that this was the moment for both teams to show that they deserve to be where what they're challenging for.
Forest have kind of tailed off a bit, haven't they?
Yeah, but I think they were doing so well that's expected.
Yeah, I agree.
Just purely looking at goal scorers here and times. Lewis Miley, 23. They were 1-0 down by this point, obviously, thanks to Callum Hudson-Odoi. Lewis Miley, 23. Josh Murphy, 25. And then Isak, 33. And then a penalty. And then with a penalty. And then Isak again in the 34th minute. That's like 4 goals in 11 minutes.
Crazy stuff.
Ridiculous standard.
Yeah.
And we've talked a lot about Isak. One of my favourite players in that Newcastle squad is Jacob Murphy. Obviously, he was at fault or a little bit to blame for the Forest opening goal.
Where is the most improved player in the league over the last 3 years, 2 years?
Yeah, I really like him, and I have done for a while. I'm also a very big fan of his brother Josh, who plays for Portsmouth.
He's one of those players that you want in your team, sort of like a unsung hero kind of player.
He has improved a lot. I mean, when Josh Murphy was I know we're on about Jacob, but when Josh Murphy was at Cardiff and they were in the Premiership, I thought Josh Murphy was a better player than Jacob Murphy, but Jacob has really gone to another level.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I feel like a lot of people would say that Josh Murphy is the one with more natural ability, whereas Jacob has had to work a lot harder. Yeah, I just try and ignore everything that he says. You're having a complete breakdown over what I've just said, and I've just carried on with all my analysis, which is probably going to have to be cut out because you're laughing in the background. Anyway, yeah, but again, though, at the point where they're 4-1 down at half time, you have to give credit to Forest. You really do. They are some team so well put together and doing so well. What do we think? What do we think about Newcastle in Europe? Do we think if we get the table up right now?
I think they're 8. Are they 8? 7?
Yeah, so
I think that sounds about right.
I'm looking at the table from Sunday. So obviously this isn't, because that's where we are when we're talking about the game from Sunday. They were 5th on Sunday, so they're 6th now, right?
Yes.
But at this point, so let me get the actual table up then, if that's how we're doing it. Okay. So
I've got it up now.
They are. Yeah, no, I've got it up as well.
Okay, all right.
2 points. They're 2 points. 2 points off. You're making this really hard, Bob.
Sorry.
They're 2 points off Chelsea with a game in hand, and they're also 3 points off Forest. 1 goal worse off as well, but Forest have also got a game in hand as well. I think that top 4 is a realistic target for them right now with that squad.
They are.
I think
they are streaky though. They're too streaky at the minute. They need to.
Yeah, but I do think man for man, when they're on it, they are a top 4, top 5 team.
I absolutely think you're right. It's just, you know what Newcastle remind me of a little bit. This is going to seem a strange analogy, but do you remember Lee Johnson's Bristol City in the Championship, where they go and win?
League, of course I do.
Where they go and win 12 games and then lose 12 games. Newcastle.
He does that in every single job. That's why they call him Streaky Lee. He's the exact same at Sunderland.
So he's got win-lose on his CV then. Yeah.
Literally, like, I think that one of the problems that they've got is, again, they've got a really strong starting 11.
Small
that bench isn't that great.
I agree.
Yeah.
There's a big drop.
We talked about that. We talked about that the last time that we were here together when we were talking about why did they let Lloyd Kelly go. Although I do think Juventus is a massive step up from Newcastle.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
That's controversial.
Oh, come on. Yeah.
So.
It is. Absolutely.
I'm talking more about European pedigree.
Would you say Newcastle's first 11 is as good as Juventus's first 11?
That's a question.
No doubt Juventus are a bit bigger club, I agree, but in terms of who's got the better...
I'd say the way I'd put it is Newcastle are a bit more stable, I'd say.
Mind you, yeah, Juventus have had a bit of a rocky time, haven't they, recently, a bit?
Yeah. But we digress again. So, Sam, anything more to add on the game?
Well, clearly I saw the highlights, didn't manage to see the actual match, unfortunately. But, I just think Newcastle, roared on by their home faithful, gave them the advantage. And Forest were lost 3 of the last 4 in the Premier League. But I think it can't be underestimated how brilliant Forest's season's been.
Oh,
and
it's been brilliant, yeah.
For them still to be in third, if they can be in and around the European places by May and claim a European place, whether that's Champions League, Europa League, or Conference, that'll be an unbelievable achievement.
Yes, of course.
If they can get Champions League, that would be
the dream, wouldn't it? Really, yeah.
Unbelievable. But I think if you offered this to a Forest fan now, if you offered with say 4 games to go, and they needed 6 points to guarantee a Champions League, a European place, which may or may not happen, I think they'd take it. So even Forest have done so well that even if they drop off a little bit now, other teams are a bit streaky in and around them.
Yeah,
so they're
that
gonna.
is true. Yeah.
So they're going to be there or thereabouts in the European place. But yeah, they'll get it back. The one thing I worry about with both these sides is if they do make Europe, i.e. the Europa League or the Champions League, the Conference League is a little bit different because the drop-off is quite big. But the Europa League or the Champions League for either club, then the squads aren't really ready for that.
I mean, we've seen it with Villa, haven't we, really, this season?
With PSR, financial fair play, whatever you want to call it, the likelihood of them being able to bring in lots of players to add to the squads to make it competitive on all fronts will be difficult. But a great season for Forest. Good to see Newcastle up there as well. A big football club with a great following. And I hope they go on and do it in the League Cup final as well. And that's not just because they're facing Liverpool,
well, it'd be someone different, wouldn't it, lifting the League Cup?
Newcastle's size to have not won and stature and the love around them, for them not to have won a trophy since 1955, that is just unbelievable. So if there's any fans, it annoys me a little bit because I hear Tottenham fans going, we've not won anything since 2008, or United fans going, it's a disaster. But can you imagine not winning anything since 1955?
Well, yeah,
I mean, most of the people around that were there for that probably might not even be here now. So it's unbelievable. But both clubs in with a great chance. Nuno's showing his worth, and good luck to both clubs. That's what I'd say.
Yeah.
You sum it up well.
I think you pretty much touched on everything. Sorry, Ben. I think you pretty much touched on everything there, Sam. I just kind of want to reiterate that I do think that Forest will finish in Europe as well.
I think so, because I think they've been better than a lot of the other big six, if you like.
I think it's an interesting league this year, where the weaker teams look really weak, and the gap between we've definitely talked about this multiple times, but the gap between mid-table and the top half for European places is getting considerably smaller.
It's been a strange season, hasn't it?
But I do think that the reason that Forest will finish there and probably will continue to challenge for Europe in the next few years is because what Nuno has done really well is trim the fat from the Cooper years, and they just look like they'd go through a brick wall for him, which we've seen before because when he was at Wolves it was the exact same. So yeah, I think they will continue to be a club at the level that they should be, by the way, as European Cup winners and league winners in the 70s.
Yeah.
I agree.
Who's the club, boys? Forest or Newcastle?
Forest.
Well, Forest win the European Cup, weren't they, a lot of times? So, yeah, probably Forest, I would say.
Forest, yeah.
You know, Brian Clough, yes.
What a question that is.
I say that with no hesitation.
Yeah, I'd
Historically, I think
the times they are changing.
Historically, Forest are the bigger club, but all in all, I think it is still Newcastle.
Yeah, it's valid, but I'd still say Forest.
Because if we're talking as well about recent history, the majority of football fans are men in between the ages of 18 to 40, whatever, which means that the majority of them will have seen a Forest side mostly on the decline. Like, even as far as League One, didn't they dropped into League One as well, didn't they? Like, a while ago. So, I think, in general, the bigger football club is Newcastle, but the history of Forest is way bigger than anything that Newcastle have ever had.
Yeah, it depends which way you look at it.
Yeah.
But I think the boys have summed it up.
One more point.
No worries.
Very, very quickly, Jordan spoke about how the gap between the mid-table and the top, sides competing for Europe, the gap's getting smaller. And I know we're on this game week, over the weekend, but I think that's shown in the fact that Aston Villa have lost 4-1 to Palace tonight, which we'll touch on next time, but that just shows that gap is getting smaller.
Yeah, I agree. I think, we used to say anyone can beat anyone, but it's never been more true. The likes of United aren't a big boy to be feared anymore. And,
yeah, I mean, who would have thought they would be in 15th? This
season.
I don't think is out of interest. Is the next game Man United Everton?
Yes.
And this is what I was going to say. This seamlessly rolls us on to the next game. So it was the lunchtime game on the Saturday. Everton v United. It was played out a 2-2 draw.
Very just by the skin of the
teeth. Can we get the elephant in the room out of the way and just go round and ask if we think it's a penalty and why we do or we don't?
Well, okay, I'll start. Now, obviously, if you haven't seen it, I urge you to watch it. It grabbed the headlines. For me, what I will say on it is, I thought it was a theatrical foul from Ashley Young, the way he fell forwards. Now, because the referee gave it in normal time, I didn't think it would be overturned. But obviously it was, and it spared United's blushes.
Yes.
That was my thought on it. Jordan, what were your thoughts?
I think that he gets pulled twice, once by the lick, and Maguire also bites at him as well.
Yeah, they were both pulling on his shirt, weren't they? So...
I think that we've seen way softer penalties than that given, even this season. I think that the reason that this isn't given is a conversation that I've had with any football fan for at least 10 years, and it's the Ashley Young diving thing. I really do believe that, because I think it's definitely a penalty, in my opinion. And I also believe that that they ask him to go to the monitor and don't show him every angle.
I agree with that.
That was
Because
a key factor. wasn't it?
One angle that you could really see it.
And this is another game, but this is what we talk about with consistency with VAR, is they asked the referee to go to the monitor for the tackle by Zabani on can't remember, who was it on? Any idea?
Oh, the Bournemouth one.
The Bournemouth and Wolves one.
Yeah, it was. It slipped my mind now.
Yeah. Anyway, they asked the referee to go to the monitor, and the first angle that they show him is the one. It's probably the only one where it looks like it is a penalty.
Yeah.
So first of all, because we've seen these VAR decisions take so long to figure out.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of people
he
get
literally
frustrated.
2 angles, so he hasn't looked at every angle, he hasn't slowed it down, he hasn't zoomed in, he's taken a look at 2 angles, he's gone, yeah, no penalty. There's a very obvious shirt pulling.
Yes, there is.
It's
yes.
right there. There's very obvious 2 shirt pulls. It's absolutely.
To me, it's not a dive.
Bizarre.
To me, it's a penalty.
I think it is theatrical. But diving is more common in the modern game than it's ever been, because I think a lot of players look for contact now, whereas they never did.
Yes. Well, in the 60s and 70s, diving just wasn't a thing, really.
I do want to just mention that Ben has had to drop off, so thanks a lot to Ben for all of his analysis, and it's been great to chat with him, of course.
Great to catch up with you, Ben.
Yes.
Everton were wonderful in the first half, for the first 60 minutes, actually. It got blown away. I watched it live on BT, and the one game of the weekend I watched all the way through live.
By the skin of their teeth, didn't they, United, really?
Gordon goes on about, and it's happened less this year. Last year, United got away with playing in moments and nicking results. Well, it's happened less. We should have finished, and I've said this on the show before, last year. The difference between this year and last year is nothing. We were as poor last year as we are this year. The difference was we were getting away with moments. But the old adage reared its head again, because 2 moments and we were back in the game. And then the moment at the end, the ref gives the wrong decision. So United extremely lucky. David Moyes is doing an incredible job at Everton. United, poor, ponderous, pathetic. Outrun, out-tackled, out-fought, out-thought, out-muscled, out-willed, outperformed.
If I had a pound for every time you said out-thought and out-fought, I'd have quite a few pounds right now. Every time. It's every time. I do want to say that United were shocking for 60 minutes. And and then you get the moments that they did. That Ugarte strike is very good. Not as good as they're making out, but it is good.
Garnacho made a difference, didn't he, when he came off the bench?
But he's a class player. He's a good player. He's a good player playing in a bad team.
Agreed.
And like that's where United are now.
Do you think he gets into the Chelsea team? Because obviously he was linked with Chelsea then.
Probably not.
I think while we've got injuries, he probably does, and people like Mudryk are missing and things like that, he probably would. But I think if Chelsea were at full beam with no injuries and no suspensions or whatever, I think he wouldn't get in now.
Right.
Who plays on the left for Chelsea? Neto. Well, it would be Neto. It's Sancho at the minute, and Neto's playing on the right. I don't think that Garnacho is better than Neto.
I agree.
Because Neto is probably one of the only game changers we've got right now in terms of somebody when we've been poor in these games, he's the one spark. Although we were class tonight against Southampton, and he was brilliant too.
Great player, Neto. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think Garnacho gets in the Chelsea team now.
Right.
Although realistically, they probably spend about 50 million on him, so they would have to play him every game anyway.
Right.
I like Neto's brother, Cornetto.
Oh my God, get rid of that. Get that right out.
Very good.
Okay, and the most recent managerial appointment, I think, has happened while we've been talking. And that is, and I think this could probably be a really, really good appointment. Blackburn Rovers have appointed Valerian Ismail as their new manager.
Gosh, really?
Now,
that just sums up where Blackburn are. The guy's absolutely useless. He plays long ball. He's got no idea. He had that one little spell with Barnsley. But for one, he needs to rebuild his career. Why has he gone there? Because Blackburn have got 11 players, we touched on it last week, 10 or 11 players out of contract at the end of the season. Good players as well. The owners can't stick to promises. That's why John Dahl Thomason left, and it seems to be John Eustace left. So, and thirdly, Valerian Ismail is just rubbish. I mean, so he's up against it because he's going to Blackburn, but from Blackburn's point of view, they want to continue the momentum while they can, regardless of the issues they've got in the summer. But he's just rubbish. Absolute bombings decision. It's a cop-out, that.
Shall I tell you why I disagree?
Go on.
So obviously we've got quite a lot of experience with Valerian Ismail now. Barnsley, the job he did was unreal. West Brom didn't really work with the style, did it? And Watford, they were there or thereabouts, but it still wasn't great. But they don't give anybody time anyway. Now, Valerian Ismail comes into a Blackburn side in the playoffs, hanging on by a thread, because of the Coventry are breathing down the necks. Also, the likes of Middlesbrough, ETC, Norwich, things like that. Even if they drop out, they are in no danger of getting relegated if they've got 50 plus points. If they give him the time to work with them on the training ground, if they give him the time to implement the style that we saw at Barnsley,
which is football,
and that we've seen in flashes at West Brom and Watford.
That was hoofball.
I think he could do well. I think he could do well.
That was hoofball.
Now, I think maybe I'm a little bit blinded by the fact that for somebody like Blackburn, who, although they're a good club, haven't really, you know, I don't feel like they've gone big on a managerial signing. I think John Eustace was a good capture, but I don't think that, can't imagine he would have been very expensive to get, for instance. That, you know, before, I imagine John Dale Thomason might have been, but again, as a manager making his way into the Championship, I can't imagine that he required too much either.
But look at it from Valerian Ismail's point of view. Why has he gone to Blackburn when, even if he gets them in the playoffs and they somehow get promoted, he's going to lose all 11 players there? They've got no money coming in, really, other than a couple of sales they've made. They've got, and he's a manager with something to prove. It's just bobbins. It's disgrace.
Right, so you've answered your own question there. Why would he come in? Because he's got something to prove. And if he can make something of this team, it's a massive achievement.
Yeah, but the team's not going to be there next season.
Some of them might not be.
Most of them aren't.
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know what the contractual situation is there.
Yeah, well, time will tell. But yeah, I mean,
they've got something like they had a starting 11 out the other night, and 8 of them are out of contract.
That's just incompetence.
That's League 1, League 2 level, that, innit? That's like, I think the Alex have got like 6 or 7 players that are due to leave in the summer. So that sums it up.
And it's so boring, Valerian Ismail. I mean, I'm not impressed.
Before we move on, I've got up the betting odds for the next Swansea manager.
Okay.
I'm gonna read every single for the next one.
Couple of them?
For the what?
Can I guess a couple of them and you see if
you can guess a couple of them. I won't read you the top one because that's the current interim, so I won't read you that. But I will read you the next 5 or 6 favourites.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Russell Martin's back on there.
Let me see if I can see his name. Don't see his name.
No? Okay. Let me see. The guy who was at Swansea for a while and also Sheffield Wednesday.
Which one?
The guy that was at Swansea and Sheffield Wednesday that Corbehan.
Carlos? Is it Carlos?
Carlos Carvajal. Oh, hang on, Russell Martin is here. Found Russell Martin. 33-1. Same odds as David Wagner and Wayne Rooney.
Wayne Rooney?
My God.
But they're way low down. They're way low down.
He can't do anything wrong, Wayne, can he, in a manager?
Carlos Carvajal, I can't see.
Basically, the manager equivalent of a car crash.
Okay. Oh, Carlos Carvajal, 33-1 as well.
Yeah. See, I'm doing well. One more.
Okay. Yeah, but he's like 40 down.
One more.
Yeah. Go on.
One more. Yes.
Any other old Swansea managers in the mix there?
Michael Laudrup.
Michael Laudrup I've not seen. Gary Monk's there. 33-1.
Right, anyway, carry on.
Okay, so favourites. Apart from the current interim, who's the top favourite at 1-2. That's Alan Sheehan. Eric Ramsey, young coach at Man United. That's 6-1. Des Buckingham, formerly of Oxford, that's 8-1. Jesse March and Steven Gerrard at 10-1 each.
Jesse March should be good.
And
Former
then
Leeds United manager.
I'll do 3 more. Raphael Vicky, who nearly got the West Brom job, and Ryan Mason, who is obviously at Tottenham, 20-1 each. And then the final 2 at 25-1 each. Former Swansea defender Alan Tate and Rob Edwards.
Rob Edwards would be an interesting appointment.
One final one just before 33-1, Ryan Giggs.
Interesting. Ryan Giggs, yeah.
But yeah, the less said about Ryan Giggs, the better.
Well, yes.
Now. Right, so some interesting football, some interesting managerial chat. We'll see what happens next week because it's it's changing all the time at the moment. And we'll move into our Premier League Championship roundup, starting with Friday night's games. And Bristol City came from a goal down, thanks to their ex-striker, Tommy Conway, to win 2-1, thanks to 2 goals from West Ham loanee George Earthy. Not been looking so good for Carrick recently. I think they're 5 losses in a row, is it? Yeah, 5th straight defeats at the time. Now, as we've recorded this, they have won it. They have won tonight. So a little bit of pressure off Michael Carrick, but I know there was a lot of rumours about him potentially going out the door, getting a tic-tac. Despite the fact I think he has done a good job all in all, but obviously they're a big club, aren't they, Borough? So
Yes.
I can see why that would be being said.
Yeah.
Burnley continued their unbelievable...
All right, no, that was tonight's. Carry on.
Burnley continued their unbelievable...
Another clean sheet for them.
Clean sheet record.
It's unbelievable.
They beat Sheffield Wednesday 4-0, thanks to goals from Marcus Edwards, Josh Brownhill, Connor Roberts, and Manuel Benson. 12 clean sheets in a row.
That's
unreal.
Pretty amazing.
9 goals conceded in how many games?
9 goals conceded in... Let me just click this little thing here so we can see the table. 9 goals conceded in 34 games.
That's got to be a record, that.
That's amazing.
That is the most unbelievable stat I think I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's really, really...
So I'm guessing the last time that stats were done was probably the Unbeatables team, wasn't it? At Arsenal.
No. So the closest that I know on record is Chelsea only conceded 15 under Mourinho when we won the league.
Right.
In 04-05.
Oh, it's his first time there. Yeah, right.
Did you see that thing that keeps doing the rounds about he DM'd the owner of Burnley, the NFL guy, and he said, "What would it take for you to come out of retirement?" And he said, "Don't concede a goal till the end of the season," and then he's not conceded since then.
Wow.
It's just really interesting.
Who said about retirement? Sorry.
So, James Trafford said to the Burnley owner, who used to be an NFL player called JJ Watt.
Oh right,
said,
yeah.
What would it take for you to come out of retirement? And he said, "Don't concede a goal until the end of the season," and he's not conceded since.
Well, they won't go to the end of the season without conceding another, but that's impossible.
I don't know.
but it's
Well, not necessarily.
But
it's looking pretty good at the minute.
But it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
anyway.
It really is. It really is something special. John Eustace faced Alex Neil in his second game in charge of Derby. This one was a home game, and they lost yet again. That's 2 losses from 2 after being battered by QPR last week. Josh Coburn with the goal in the 95th minute.
How's he doing, Alex Neil? Because I was critical of the appointment.
Yeah, it's starting to level out a little bit more now.
He's a very experienced manager, though.
Yeah, just looking at this week's table, they're 12th, and they're only 6 points off the playoffs. Actually,
that's
at this
not
point.
bad then.
On the same amount of points as Sheffield Wednesday as well. So, but it's like as I said, it's very congested all over the championship. So, think of that what you will.
As usual.
Yeah, Plymouth and Cardiff played out a 1-1 draw down near the bottom of the league. Yusuf Salek opened the scoring for Cardiff before Demetrius Gutas was sent off for the Bluebirds, and Tijani got the equaliser for Plymouth. It was a shock away win yet again for Hull against Sunderland. They took the 1-0 victory thanks to an own goal from the goalkeeper, Anthony Patterson. Coventry continued their unbelievable run of form. I think it's something like 7 wins in the last 8. 2 goals in 7 minutes sealed this one off. Jack Rodoni and Bobby Thomas with a consolation for Preston from Will Keane to make it a little bit shaky. Don't care what anybody says. Frank Lampard's doing amazing so far.
I like Lampard. He seems a great guy.
I know you want to fight me on it, Sam.
He's doing.
Look, you can tell. Look,
he's doing okay with a squad that was already very good under the last few years under Mark Robbins. So he's just put a bit of belief back into him, but he will crumble in my opinion.
You're a bastard. You're such a bastard.
As the golden generation have shown in management and playing together. So, in an England shirt. So, no doubt he's a brilliant player, Frankie. But as a manager, he's better than Rooney and maybe better than Gerrard. Well, definitely better than Gerrard. But that's not saying much, is it? So, Mark Robbins built a brilliant squad there. No doubt they'd lost a bit of confidence that Frankie Lamps has put back into them, but it'll be a short-term fix. And the wheels will come off.
Well, time will tell.
Well, the misery for Mark Robbins and Stoke continued. They were well beaten 4-2 at Carrow Road by Norwich. Goals for Norwich from Lewis Dobbin, 2 for Josh Sargent, who's fantastic, really, really like him, and an own goal from Junior Chamado put the seal on it for the Canaries. For Stoke, 2 goals from Lewis Baker, 1 from open play, and 1 a penalty. They are in serious trouble currently.
Yeah, it's not Mark Robbins' fault though. The club's a mess.
That is very true. One club that have done really well to steer themselves out of trouble is Portsmouth. They scored 2 goals in 3 minutes to see off QPR. Josh Murphy, we talked about Jacob earlier, with the first goal, and then Matt Ritchie scoring for his boyhood club once again. A fantastic consolation, though. Lobbed finish from the right back, Jimmy Dunn. In the battle of the interim managers, Alan Sheehan Swansea battered David Lowe's Blackburn 3-0. Zan Vipotnik, Miles Peart-Harris and Liam Cullen with the goals. The Swans and Tony Mowbray's Baggies beat Guy Rowett's Oxford 2-0 thanks to goals from Alex Mowat and John Swift. That concludes our Saturday in the Championship. Obviously, we'll have a look at any other games in the match week. Well, Reading and Birmingham played out a draw in the first game. In
Hold on, you missed the Championship one.
Where?
You missed Monday night's game.
Yeah, because I said that's it for Saturday's games. That's why.
All right, but you're going into League One.
We'll get there. We'll get to Monday night. Don't worry.
All right. Okay.
In League One, Reading and Birmingham played out a 0-0 draw. Good point that. Barnsley beat Rotherham away from home thanks to an Adam Phillips penalty. Blackpool finally got a home win. There's something like 11 games unbeaten, but they haven't won a home game in 8. Something like that.
That's
a ridiculous. It's a ridiculous stat. Anyway, goals coming from a Niall Ennis double and a Lee Evans penalty. Ashley Fletcher was sent off for the Seasiders as well. Kamari Doyle with the consolation for Crawley. Ian Everts, not Ian Everts, who is it? Stephen Schumacher's revolution at Bolton continues. They came from 1-0 down against Leyton Orient thanks to Charlie Kelman. The goals for Bolton from John McAtee. It's not John McAtee, is it? Isn't it James McAtee?
No, he's...
No, James McAtee.
It is John McAtee. It's John McAtee. Goals from John McAtee and Aaron Morley turn it round for the Trotters. It was a absolutely fantastic result for Neil Harris in his first game back in the dugout at Cambridge United. They beat high-flying Stockport 2-0 thanks to 2 goals from Josh Stokes. What a player he looks to be, by the way. Callum Connolly was also sent off for Stockport. Charlton continued their good form, 3-0 against Exeter, and Angus MacDonald own goal, and then goals from Tyrese Campbell, not that one, and Miles Leeburn sealed the victory. It was a much needed, three much needed wins down the bottom that we're about to cover. 2 away wins. 1, Peterborough beating Huddersfield 1-0 at the John Smith thanks to a goal from Hector Cipriano to keep them just above it. Burton beat Lincoln away 1-0 thanks to Charlie Webster's 92nd minute winner. So again, just help creep them towards a bit of, they actually, in terms of the table, are closest from safety despite being rooted to the bottom for most of the season, which is a great story. Gary Bowie is doing a fantastic job, which I can't actually remember what we said. Did we say that it could? I think we said that if he could get them up for it, it could be a good appointment, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, but we said he was a really nice, maybe too much of a nice guy, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
With
say
some
that
managers, that's their problem, really.
Well, maybe that's what Burton needs right now.
Yeah. Exactly.
That was my issue with Ole. He always seemed weak because he seemed too nice.
Don't mistake niceness for weakness, Will. Kindness for weakness.
Yeah.
Another team that got a really important 3 points was Kevin Nolan's Northampton. They came from a goal down against Inigo Calderon's Bristol Rovers, who also are in need of points. Scott Sinclair put the Pirates into the lead before Dara Costello and Nestor Guinness Walker bagged the goals to give the Cobblers the win. Aaron Pierre own goal for Shrewsbury gave Stevenage the victory at Greenhouse Meadow. It used to be called. Not sure what it's called anymore. And Wickham and Wigan played out a 0-0 draw. Into League Two, and I can't wait to talk about this one. In the early kickoff, Crewe Alexandra beat Barrow 3-0. Goals from Conor O'Riordan and Tommy Lowry made me feel like we were going back in time to the good old days of 2020.
Who would have ever thought we'd be saying that?
Yeah, the third goal scored by Maciej Polacek, assisted by yet another academy graduate, Callum Agius, who I love to see get some minutes, and he was really good when he came.
Who said you can't win anything with kids?
Listen, it hasn't been a very good few weeks at all for the Alex. The transfer window brought back two of recent times, best players in terms of O'Riordan. Obviously went to Blackburn. Lowry went to Pompey. And I thought that we were really, really good here. I don't know whether you watched the game, Sam.
I saw the highlights, and we were excellent. I look full of confidence again.
Yeah, I saw the highlights, and I thought of you lads when Crewe came up.
I think that Barrow had chances at first. Philip Marshall makes an amazing save from Aaron Presley, who is the son of Steve.
I do like Marshall. I think he's good.
Yeah, he's probably the best goalkeeper we've had for a while. I think that guys like Billington had a really good game. Polacek was obviously very good. Thibaut is still struggling to get regular minutes, but he's very raw. Holacek was good. Taverner had one of the better games I've seen him have for us, which is great to say because I'm fed up of talking about how poor he is. The penalty that was given to the Alex on the replay is outside the box and should not have been a penalty.
I agree, but who cares?
But we won't complain. One thing that we do want to highlight, as we said, if I have a look at this Crewe Alex starting 11, we've got Billington come through the academy, O'Riordan come through the academy, but obviously came away. Lowry came through the academy. Taverner came through the academy. Holacek came through the academy.
Callum
Agius, who came off the bench, came through the academy. Luca Moore, who was making his senior debut as a substitute, came through the academy. It fills me with so much pride.
Is there anybody who didn't come from the academy
in this team?
Yes.
Philip Marshall, Max Conway, Jamie Knight-Labelle, Max Sanders, Jack Powell, Adrian Thibaut.
Okay, so there's still quite a bit of non-academy players then.
It fills me with so much pride to talk about the Alex and talk about academy players.
Well, they are the youth, aren't they? They are the future.
And the thing is, as well, the beautiful thing about the Alex is the Alex kind of works in sort of 2 to 3 year cycles. So, like, guys like O'Riordan, I went to his first professional game. Holacek, I'd been to his first professional game. Luke Offord, who obviously isn't with us anymore and is at MK Dons, I was at his first professional game. Willie Escalainen, who isn't with us anymore, but again, I was at his first professional game. That's what Crewe Alex is all about. That's what Crewe Alex has always been about.
And we always seem to bring them through. It's not oh, we were so good at it for so long, and now we're not. We still do it, and it's a credit to.
Well,
You
fantastic.
get
It's the heart of any club, really.
You get
You know,
people
the
like
academy.
Danny Murphy always talks about his time at Crewe, and look at the career he went on to have.
Danny Murphy, Robbie Savage, David Platt,
Amazing.
Ben Johnson,
Great names
Dean
there.
Ashton,
Ashley Westwood,
Ashley Westwood, of course,
Harry
Luke
Pickering.
Murphy, Harry Pickering, Harry and G. So many. Anyway, we're getting off track.
Bruce Weatherly.
It really is, and this is the last thing I'll say about the Alex before we move on. We really needed this because I think we were in trouble of severely crashing out. And I was listening to another podcast talk about the Alex yesterday, and they were talking about how bad the Alex had been over the last 6 or 7 games, and I absolutely agree. We've been terrible.
But I always said, even at the start of the season, this squad wasn't as good as even with Larry.
It's only not been as good. It's only not been as good because, like, I think every single senior forward is injured, apart from Tracy.
Oh,
No, but
who isn't a forward.
No, but I said at the start of the season anyway that I thought last season's squad of Rowe, was it Turns we had at the back of Rowe, Turns, we had Rio Adarabizi, Luke Offord. That was a better side than this one.
Yeah, I do agree. Obviously, that side did get gutted as well. And I think we're actually a bit safer this year of not losing out on very many players. The only one I do worry about is Folio. I think he's great, but and obviously the loanee. But yeah, we'll move on. We'll move on.
Holicek, loanee.
What?
You said Holicek was a loanee.
No, I think you said Holicek and the
loanees. Yeah. Although Holicek has recently signed a new long-term contract, so.
All right.
You know, that's always good. Anyway, moving on to the team top of League Two. They went away to Morecambe, who are fighting for their lives currently. And it was 0-0 up until the 50th minute when Reece Williams was sent off. And then 3 minutes later, Taylor Allen scored for the Saddlers. Jamie Jellis with the second goal. Doncaster also got a good away win against Accrington Stanley. Harry Clifton with the opener for Donny on the 2nd minute, before Seamus Keneally equalised in the 57th. Ben Ward with the OG for Accrington as well, and Patrick Kelly was sent off for Donny. A team that we haven't talked about really at all recently, mainly because obviously I've not been around, is Bradford. They've come out of nowhere to absolutely fly up the table. They've got 9 straight home wins.
Wow, that's pretty good.
They are currently in. I'm going to look at the current League 2 table because I know that they're not where that table says they are. So forget that for a moment. They are currently in 2nd on 60 points.
Second, right.
And they've really done a really good job. Also notable because it's a former Kralix youth player, Anthony Sarcevic, with both the goals for the Bantams. Bromley got a 2-0 win against Harrogate, goals from Michael Cheek and Jude Arthurs. 2 managers still looking for their first wins, met with Mark Hughes and John Coleman. It was another draw for Mark Hughes to make it 2 from 2. That's draws. John Coleman just can't seem to get a tune from that team quite yet. Another draw that played out was Wimbledon away at Colchester. They took the lead thanks to Marcus Brown before Samson Davide rescued it late on. Aware Edwards was sent off for Colchester as well. Grimsby versus Fleetwood in the battle of the fifth base teams didn't disappoint. An absolute worldie from George McEachran gave Grimsby the lead. Rob Graydon equalised for Fleetwood before Danny Rose scored the winner for Grimsby. They're going very well again, pushing for the playoffs again. As much as I don't want to see Crewe drop out, I can't help but just love seeing David Artell do well, despite the fact that it obviously soured towards the end. Cheltenham got a massive 3-0 away win at Newport. Goals from Taylor, Williams and Archer got the win for them. Courtney Baker-Richardson was sent off. Notts County continued their fantastic form against struggling Tranmere. Charlie Whittaker and Alessandra Jatta with the goals for Notts. Christian Dennis with the consolation. And Port Vale continued their upward trajectory with a 2-1 win against Salford. Antoine Hackford and Raheem Harper with the goals. Delican with the penalty consolation for Salford. Ronan Curtis was also sent off for a straight red card in the 96th minute. And the job that Ian Holloway continues to do at Swindon is one that I absolutely love.
Me too.
They got back to winning ways thanks to a 61st minute penalty from Kabango Shamanga. I don't know whether I said that right. I think so. 1-0 against Chesterfield. Right, almost there, boys. Got to get through the rest of the weekend. We had a game in the Championship and a game in League One. The game in the Championship was a derby. Watford versus Luton is hotly contested. Watford beat out Luton 2-0. Tom Delibashiru with the 11th minute penalty and Ido Kayembe with the second as well. Really starting to worry about Luton now. Really concerned about their future.
They're not blooming under Bloomfield, are they?
They're definitely not. It's not spring yet, though. So, still time. That was cheap from me. I'm sorry.
Very good.
That was really cheap.
No, very good. I like
that. In League One, Wrexham travelled to Mansfield and got a 2-1 win, courtesy of a Callum McDonald own goal. McDonald went from 0 to hero, scoring the equaliser on the 16th minute, before Max Clawworth got the winning goal for Wrexham.
Yeah, the big Max.
On Monday night, a huge game at the top of the Championship. Sheffield United welcomed Leeds. Leeds went 1 goal down thanks to an Elan Melier own goal. I haven't seen it, but I've heard that it was comical. and he does tend to let them in, doesn't he, Melier? The games where they actually face quite a few shots, he doesn't really acquit himself very well, to be honest. However, Leeds did come back to win the game. Goals from Junior Thurpo, Ao Tanaka and Joel Peru meant that Leeds got the victory and they continued to march on.
You know what that was? It was a gaffer of an acca.
It was a what?
Gaffer of an acca from Ladbrokes because you said Acca scored.
I said Tanaka.
Well, Acca.
Terrible. Anyway, the significance of that is there is now a 5-point gap between Leeds and Sheffield United. And to be honest, I don't see Leeds dropping very many more points. So they are definitely
Should be back in the Prem. We're a
Yeah.
good start. We're a big club, Leeds. They should never be out there.
I think I know what I want to do. By the way, just put it out there for the March international break.
Yes.
Instead of kind of a state of the state of the leagues, I want to look at the tables. I want to look at potential promotion, relegation,
Oh, yes,
European
that makes
places,
sense now that we're.
and I want to predict. I want us all to predict how we think it's gonna go
Okay.
In each league.
I'd be
In
happy
each
for
in
that.
each league. Yeah,
It makes
It'd be
sense
very-
now at this point of the season, yeah, to look at the tables.
it'll be very interesting.
Yeah.
Right. So all that remains now is for me to take us home, unless anybody else wants to do it.
No, take us home.
It's in your capable hands, my friend.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks very much for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, or listening if you're listening on Spotify, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and leave a comment. Follow the podcast and leave a nice 5-star review.
Yeah.
If you're watching on Spotify. I'm Jordan. I've been joined by the man whose channel this is on, TubeMix, aka Will. Thanks a lot,
Thank
mate.
you very much. It's been a good show, yeah.
I can't forget Mr. Ben Carney. It's been absolutely fantastic to have a chat with him. It's been a very long time since we have had a chat with him.
Yes,
So,
it's
yeah,
been
thanks a lot,
wonderful.
mate.
Thank you, mate.
And of
Great.
course, last but not least, Mr. Sam Taylor, as always, my friend, my oldest friend. Has been a pleasure, as it so often is. All that remains for me to do now is say thanks so much for watching and listening. Don't forget to join us next week when we discuss all the current and ongoing topics within football, and of course that will be all without having kicked the ball. Thank you very much.